This is the reading of Gene Key 45 or Human Design Gate 45, which is the cosmic communion. The city frequency is communion. The gift is synergy. The shadow is dominance. The programming partner is the 26th gene key and is part of the ring of prosperity, 16 and 45. The 45th city, communion, the end of money. Since we began with the 45th shadow, with the prime issue of food, we will end by reviewing the same issue at its highest frequency. The traditional notion of communion is rooted in the Christian rite of sharing bread and wine in memory of Christ's Last Supper. There is a great mystery concerning the true meaning of communion. Ultimately, Christ's actions during the Last Supper are deeply symbolic of the great revelation contained within the 45th city. On one level, the bread represents money and the wine represents the unification of all human beings through DNA, our blood. The drinking of the wine symbolically activates the ecstatic levels of human awareness and the transcendence of our individuality. These two themes, blood and money, are the core of the symbolism enacted in the Holy Communion. At the citic level of frequency, humans will recognize their oneness on the material plane through the transcendence of money. Human beings are the true currency, and money is our prime means of interaction as it directly reflects our frequency. If you act from a frequency rooted in fear, you will always try to maintain control of life through money. However, money also offers each of us the opportunity to test universal law. If you trust in the energy of goodwill above all else, then you will alter the way in which money moves in and out of your life. When Christ spoke the words, "This is my body," he was speaking from a collective level. Humanity is a collective body that is united through its bloodlines in a common ancestry. From the level of the 45th city, we are each other's food. Money is the key to the enactment of this revelation. We have already seen how, at the gift level of the frequency, the redistribution of money through the world economy must alter to serve a higher purpose. This manifests through the new hierarchical or the new heterarchical model based on group synergy. However, at the citic level, communion entails the end of money altogether because it represents humanity's original and completed consciousness. We have seen that most trade is based on a subtle fear and is rooted in a version of conditional giving. Unconditional giving negates the need for money altogether. In the 45th city, all the various strands of human DNA finally come together. It is the cosmic gathering point of higher consciousness. It is also the place where the individual and the family and the collective merge. The way in which this merging occurs is through the ultimate model of human and divine organization, the synarchy. In the human genetic matrix, there are many wormholes that interconnect the various gene keys in different ways. There are magnetic bridges and polarities, as well as chemical codon links. Here we can see a sequential link between the gene keys as they are laid out in the original Chinese I Ching. There are profound archetypal links between gene keys that lie next to other gene keys. In this example, we can see a strong connection between the 44 and 45th gene key. These archetypal links were originally told in story form as one learned the meaning of the different heterograms in the I Ching. In this case, we can see how synarchy, the 44th city, forms a bond with communion, the 45th city. We can further see how the 46th city of ecstasy, next in the sequence, recalls the exalted state. Say that again. We can further see how the 46th city of ecstasy, next in the sequence, recalls the exalted state engendered by the symbol of the sacred wine. In the journey of consciousness through the 45th gene key, we have seen hierarchy give way to heterarchy. And now we see their fusion and transcendence manifested through synarchy. Synarchy, as outlined and described in the 44th city, is the underlying divine formation of human consciousness when free from identification. The problem with heterarchy as a model on its own is that without a common point of focus, it may create synergy between all aspects within a certain system, but it won't see beyond its own system. Heterarchy and hierarchy, when fused together, are transcended in synarchy. In a beautiful twist, hierarchy is actually the unfulfilled organizing principle that leads to synarchy. In other words, when humanity has attained the mystical state of communion, it discovers that it is organized into a vast fractal pattern of human geometrics arranged in myriad dovetailing human wheels and branches. This is the synarchy, and one must understand that it is indeed a challenging concept to describe in words. Synarchy is the overall pattern of humanity operating as one consciousness. It is the mechanics of the mystical state of communion. Just as communion of Christ is represented by a group of 12 with a mystical 13th at its center.
So the synarchy of all human beings is built out of many such fractal families. Each of these 12 beings then has their own inner circle, and so the fractal goes on, each being occupying a pivotal or hub position in the synarchy, and thus an agent of communion, since their actions, words, deeds, and vision flow directly out into humanity, in essence, building the synarchy. Christ himself is the divine example of a hub fractal, a conduit of goodwill who sacrifices himself for the sake of a greater community. As each of us follows this example, we taste the greater body of humanity and enact the mystery of sacred communion in our lives. The leaders in a synarchy are not leaders in the normal sense because they are not made up of individuals, but small groupings of humans operating out of a single awareness. In many ways, synarchy can be likened to the interlinked networks of neurons and synapses in the human brain. This is precisely what happens to humanity. This is precisely what is happening to humanity right now as the frequencies moving through the 45th gene key come more and more into play. We're discovering higher and higher levels of self-organization. The great cosmic joke, however, is that we are discovering these patterns rather than consciously creating them. In other words, synarchy already exists as a blueprint hidden within hierarchy, the 45th shadow. As fear leaves the human genome, we will discover that we are already arranged into a synarchy. It is a gradual process of discovery, however, limited by our time processing brains. For those in the city level of consciousness, time no longer exists. Through the eyes of Christ consciousness, the kingdom of heaven is all around us at all times. In the extensive transmission of the 22nd gene key, there exists an outline form. In the extensive transmission of the 22nd gene key, there exists in outline form the bones of a future mystery school designed specifically for the synarchy. At the core of this lies a secret teaching known as the 9 portals of planetary initiation. These initiations follow the passage of human consciousness as it evolves through and beyond its current genetic form. Within this system, the initiation representing the absolute zenith of human consciousness is the 6th initiation of communion, in the words of the 22nd city. The initiation of communion also shares its name with the 45th city, which describes the great mystery of the taking of the sacred sacrament. Communion involves the direct embedding of divine consciousness at the altar. In entering into this field of frequency, you are transcending all sense of being separate from others. This is symbolized by the blood of Christ and the final breaking up of the karmic residue held in your DNA. For the grace of Christ to enter you, you must be willing to make the ultimate sacrifice, to give up your lower bodies and their desires, feelings, memories, dreams, and knowledge, and to be taken over by a greater being who has all along been waiting within you. To enter through this great initiation is to die into the second aspect of the sacred Trinity, the Christ. In the far distant future, in the far distant future, at least from the viewpoint of our current awareness, the 45th city will flower throughout humanity. Not only will this bring an end to money, but it will slowly bring an end to food. As our collective frequency mutates our biological bodies, so the body of humanity will evolve to live on the frequencies of light. This is outlined in the 6th and the 47th cities, and is programmed into the future of humanity through the codon ring known as the Ring of Alchemy. The mutation of our biology actually heralds the end of humanity as we know it, as we become synthesized into a greater communion within the cosmos as a whole. The 45th gift, which is synergy. From hierarchy to heterarchy. Beyond hierarchy lies a far more expansive concept. It is known as the heterarchy. Heterarchy is a level of self-organization that already exists, to an extent, within many hierarchies. Whereas hierarchy demands a flow of information that is essentially vertical, heterarchy distributes information horizontally. In the hierarchy, the flow of authority and information is always dependent on the permission or approval of someone else. In the hierarchy, however, responsibility and decision-making is distributed equally throughout the system. The flow of information processed through a heterarchical system is more effective than in a hierarchy. It has often been compared to the way in which neuron connections operate within the human brain. Heterarchy is based upon synergy, the 45th gift. Unlike hierarchy, it recognizes the need for both individual and group empowerment, so it operates at a far higher frequency than a hierarchical model. Let me say that again. Heterarchy is based upon synergy and the 45th gift. Unlike hierarchy, it recognizes the need for both individual and group empowerment. So it operates at a far higher frequency than a hierarchical model. In the business world, more emphasis is being placed on the heterarchical model, even though it is still utilized within the existing hierarchical one. An example might be a whole department of a business that operates with a very little interference from above and shows extremely capable and it shows itself to be extremely capable and responsible. The 45th gift of synergy requires a leap of faith out of fear-based thinking and control by a single person. It is in many ways akin to the idea that the core of democracy, that decision-making should and must be collective. I'm gonna say that again, I said it weird. It is in many ways akin to the ideal at the core of democracy, that decision-making should and must be collective. More than this, in the business world, synergy and heterarchy want to take us much further into networks where businesses that previously competed now dovetail and cross-pollinate each other, thus moving more energy throughout the whole system. This leap out of the old fear-based territorial thinking also means that the heterarchical model of business, clients and customers are shared between the various businesses that make up that network. However, what this also means is that those who hold positions of power and authority have to risk giving their authority away. For someone in a position of true power to give complete authority to another is to perform an act of pure alchemy. This is what the 45th gift is all about. When such sacrifice and empowerment is made to the right group, the rewards can be phenomenal. Even though initially a business may appear to lose money by interfacing in this way with other businesses, the amount of synergy and goodwill that moves through the human network increases exponentially. Rather than being guided from above, this new kind of business is allowed to discover its own self-organizing intelligence. The 45th gift is interested in the long term, so it is this fractal energy of goodwill that has the real power, not profitability itself. The goodwill generated reaches outward in ever-increasing spirals that impacts the world through synchronicity and word of mouth. The result is that more and more people become interested in the business and its products. The bottom line of the 45th gift is that in the long term, it is more efficient to move together in synergy rather than to waste energy in competition. The 45th gift will have its main influence on the modern financial world, since its roots are in the overall control and distribution of food and resources. Once the coming change in the human awareness takes root in us, the whole nature of modern finance can change to serve the collective rather than the individual. It is through the 45th gift that the world poverty and hunger will finally come to an end. The 45th gene key and the 16th gene key, whose gift is versatility, form the ring of prosperity, a high-frequency means of generating vast abundance across gene pools. What these two gene keys point to is that the more we diversify our resources and unite them, the more successful and efficient we will become. In the current hierarchical approach to business, networking still mostly manifests through one business buying another business and integrating it into the existing hierarchy, thus maintaining control. Once again, it is only through the selfless and unconditional giving away of responsibility and authority that true power begins to travel through a network or organization. You have to gather together the people who you trust, and then you have to give them the freedom to pursue their gifts without interference. The 45th gift is also deeply concerned with education. In order for the world poverty to come to an end, people must be self-empowered rather than rescued. This means that they must be educated in how to become self-sufficient at all levels. They have to use the technology that enables them to provide for themselves. In terms of global energy, the same truth also applies. We have to learn to harness the 16th gift of versatility in order to draw energy from a wide array of resources, rather than drawing all the water from a single well. For example, fossil fuels. Synergy entails sharing world resources rather than trading for those resources. At a subtle level, most trade is based upon fear. As the energy of goodwill and sovereignty is released through the 45th gift, the whole purpose of money will gradually begin to change. The key influence of the 45th gift will manifest through the family. In the West, we can already see the breakdown of the traditional family unit. In fact, it is not family values that will decline, but family politics. The idea of the family business will be pivotal in this respect, but in a new and different way. In our current world model, family and businesses are directly at odds. Business today tends to divide the nuclear family because one or both partners have to leave the children at too early an age, either in care or at school. In the future, business will consider one of its great responsibilities to be the custodianship of healthy families, as seen and instigated through the 45th gift. Future businesses will involve not so much a family business, but a family of businesses networked together. In this way, different clans and fractals of human beings will be united around a heterarchical business model. This could also provide a networked educational and support base for parents and children to draw from, rather than having to send children out to institutions that both alienate and homogenize them. Genize, them. Children can thus cross-pollinate with other families through play, and as they grow, through mentoring in a wide array of creative business possibilities. In this way, education, finance, and family support all being to come together in a single unified network. These are just some of the startling insights and breakthroughs that are possible through the rising frequency of the 45th gift of synergy. Synergy involves an entirely new way of thinking that is so alien to our current culture that at present is challenging for the mass consciousness to even conceive of. B, 45th shadow, dominance. The House of Dominoes. When you look at the core reason for the major problems on this planet, you will find that they all center around a single issue: food. Because human beings have to eat in order to survive, food is symbolic of real power. Everything else springs from this single fact. In today's modern world, food is symbolized by money. As long as you have enough money, you can survive. However, if you were immediately transported to the wilderness of northern Alaska, your money would mean nothing, which shows that money is really only a veneer placed across the deeper issue. Whoever controls the food resources has the power. The old Chinese name for this 45th hexagram in the I Ching is gathering together, which, like all these ancient names, contains many levels of wisdom. Very early in evolution, humans discovered that in staying together, they greatly increased their chance of survival. When hunters worked together in teams, they had a better chance of making a kill. It was out of their gathering together around food that our entire civilization was born. One of the earliest phases of human evolution was the hunter-gatherer. These early people were purely nomadic, moving from place to place, gathering and foraging for food, as well as killing wild animals as they went. An evolutionary leap was made as early humans discovered that by staying in one place, cultivating crops and domesticating animals, survival was even more ensured. This move to be a more efficient agrarian lifestyle based on the control of territory as a means of controlling the production and distribution of food was the crucible of our modern societies and nations. Along with this change came another human development, that of civilized hierarchy. As tribal groupings multiplied, natural hierarchies developed, either around a network of elders or around a single alpha leader. In a hierarchical society, individual members were no longer equals. Power was distributed according to others' needs, such as a skill or usefulness, or was inherent through patrimony. This basic model of hierarchy is still in place today, although in the West, food and territory have been replaced by money and wealth. The 45th shadow of dominance lies at the heart of this whole evolutionary tendency to operate out of hierarchies. It is the way in which our brain is programmed, even though it is now showing itself to be hugely out of date. The fact is that our modern technologies and infrastructure would allow us to live in a world without hierarchy. That is our utopian dream. However, human DNA has not yet been updated, so the old fear-based thinking still prevails. We remain victims of the shadow of dominance because we still live for ourselves rather than for each other. Survival is limited to the immediate or extended family, if there is one. As we can learn from the 7th gene key, humanity actually has a predisposition to create hierarchy because some of us are genetically programmed to become leaders and be recognized as such by others. This is the basis of the concept of the alpha male in the animal kingdom. However, this isolation into blood families is the very boundary that human beings will have to break through if a new mode of thinking and living is to emerge into the world. Even in modern day business, with all its emphasis on teamwork and corporate culture, your primary commitment is to feeding yourself and your family. Tribal thinking still dominates over collective thinking, and family loyalties far outweigh corporate commitment. This is where the fear lies, within the 45th shadow. This shadow does not allow human beings to transcend family blood ties. Our loyalty is primarily confined to our immediate family. Naturally, this is not always the case, as a global mutation is currently underway and is opening up our awareness to a new paradigm beyond that of family loyalties. In the West especially, we are witnessing the gradual demise of the family traditional model with its built-in patriarchal hierarchy. For many people, this is a very frightening time since the family model of living has been the norm for so many generations. The human need to find a place of security in the hierarchical chain is based upon dominance. That is to say, you always have to push someone else down in order that you can rise up. It is the fear-based system focused upon the oppression and dishonoring of other human beings. This is also the essence of the modern-day business model, even though the majority of those who work in businesses participate in the model unconsciously. The programming partner to the 45th shadow is the 26th shadow of pride, and those who enjoy feeling important do not wish to give up the illusion of their authority. The system we have created keeps us working within the hierarchy because the hierarchy feeds us. You have to pay taxes and mortgage as well as work for the system. It is important to understand that no individuals are to blame, not even those few multi-billionaires who appear to run the world through the big multinational corporations. Neither are the politicians to blame, as we would like to think. It is our genes that are really to blame because it is out of our most ancient fear of not having enough that we have created this whole civilization. Every single human being is an unconscious participant in the world we see around us. No one escapes the hierarchy unless they decide to reverse evolution and go back to their hunter-gatherer roots. Where then do we go from here? We live during a very uncomfortable transitionary era, as the old family-based tribal system is beginning to crumble around our ears, and the old values cease to have power or meaning. We are left with a feeling of profound social instability. At the same time, this ancestral urge to dominate persists and has found a whole new arena: global finance. Now our hierarchical struggle revolves around money. Everything, food, education, government, health, is all based around money, and there's nothing we can do about it. This does not mean to say that we cannot bring about a revolution and improve the way the old system works. This is precisely what is happening now and what is needed. However, ultimately, any system that has been built on a foundation of fear will by its very nature crumble. We're living in a house of cards. The awareness that is rapidly coming to human beings will eventually outgrow the need for any system devised by the human brain. By the time that happens, all concepts of hierarchy will have long since dissolved. The repressive nature is timid. The repressive side of the 45th shadow is made up of all those people who bow their heads to authority. These people allow their spirits to be dominated by those higher than themselves within the hierarchy. Such timidity compromises its freedom, and for the sake of not rocking the boat. Since it is rooted in an unconscious fear, this nature accepts that no good could ever come from resisting or challenging someone in a higher position. Unfortunately, the majority of humankind falls into this category, even if at an unconscious level. Most of us are willing participators in the global chess game, in which the individual spirit is easily manipulated by those at the head of the hierarchy. The reactive nature is pompous. Rather than bowing its head to authority, the reactive side of the shadow enters the fray by becoming obsessed with climbing up in the hierarchy, and therefore has to push others down in their urge to reach a high position. These are pompous people who then assume positions of power over others and make sure that they remain timid in order to maintain control. Both sides of the 45th shadow are, therefore, caught in the game of hierarchy, one as a victim and the other as a victimizer. The only real way to escape the entire game of hierarchy is to take a stand against the system itself, and not one that is rooted in a reaction of anger. To break out of either reactive or repressive nature requires that one take a great risk and break the pattern of one's interaction within family, business, government, and society. One has to stand alone as a living model of a new kind of system in which individual spirit is respected above all else. That is the reading of the 45th Gene Key.